Hey there, everybody. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining in the call. So let's see if after doing conference calls all day, we can pick up the intensity here for the afternoon. Now, Doug had wanted this set up to be a town hall meeting. Um, Hopefully this town hall meeting goes better than a few that I've seen on TV. But truthfully here, we want to be able to present you with a couple of the updates on the line, some new learnings that we have, and we appreciate you tuning in. I'm going to do just a quick recap on the product just to kind of set it with you. But to Doug's point, we've had some very large successes with the product. I see Mark McCord has joined the call as well. So when I get done talking about this, we're going to have Mark tell a little bit about some of his success stories that he's had with the line, with the product rather, in the market. So we started out at the end of 2019 with quite a bit of excitement around the product, the LBI. This is our #1 best-selling SKU in the company this year. It's gone from somewhere way down on the list to #1, millions of dollars of this. We've had some very exciting projects all over the country. So including a massive one that we're working on, as Doug mentioned, in Ohio. We've seen to find some niches with it. It's done very well, of course, in cove lighting. It's done very well in hotel spaces with real narrow fixtures. It's done very well in grocery stores, and we can talk a little bit more about that. But I'll give you an update on the product and some of the features of it. Now, for those of you who have seen this or take the time to take apart your demo kit and take a look at it, you'll know the first thing is right here, hidden in behind the LBI, is the color selection switch, Flex Watt and Flex Color. That's part of a hallmark of our product line here at the Remfoss division. We spend a lot of time making sure we're baking that into our products to give you ultimate flexibility. You'll also see it now on our bollards, lamp replacements on the HID side. So we're beginning to extend that thinking across the product line. So anyway, the LBI comes in 2, 3, and 4 feet long lengths. When you specify it, you'll want to make sure that you design, this is the inbound power cable. This is a standalone part number. So you figure out how many LBIs do I need? Am I doing a run? Am I doing 3? And then you'll need to order 1 power cable, inbound power cable to support your installations. And we made a change from that early this year because what we're finding is people were doing long runs of 30 LBIs and throwing away 29 power cords. And we were rightfully called out on the fact of not being a very green thinking LED company. So we changed it around a little bit, and now you add the inbound power as part of your bill of materials. Now, if those of you that don't remember, the inbound power has a purple and gray for doing 0 to 10 volt, and then it also has a red wire here for low voltage power supply. This low voltage power allows you to power sensors. It allows you to power control systems, building automation controls. So if you're working with a partner that is a contractor or an ESCO that's doing a building, remind them that we can power as long as we can test it in advance. We've been very compatible with a ton of different control systems that we've tested. So that's the inbound power cable, flex. So we call Flex Watt, Flex Color, and flexible controls. Now I'd like to go on and update you and what I'm going to do here is talk a little bit about maybe some of the most common questions that I get asked on the product itself and give you some more ideas around design. Doug was holding up this little guy here. This is the suspension clip. The suspension clip, as you recall, snaps right onto the LBI and suspends. We've done quite a few of these, and that's why we were out of stock. Sorry about that on your demo kit, but if Doug has given you his word that he's going to send some out, that should be good by you. So the other thing that you would want to know about this suspension bracket is at the very top, when you push, you can push on the, let's see if I can show it here on the camera. When you push on the top of this, it loosens Now you should be able to see the cable sliding through. It comes with a 10-foot long aircraft cable, but you can make adjustments on the length of it by pushing on the top of the bracket, and it loosens up and allows you to slide the cable in and out through there, so you can adjust it to the length that you want. Now, some people say, hey, I want to suspend them longer than 10 feet. And in those cases, work with your distributor, because they can get aircraft cable in spools, basically spools of this stuff. So it's a pretty low cost buy for them. And they can simply, by pushing on that, you slide out the aircraft cable, slide it in. Now, on the other end of the 10-foot long cable, there's a little gadget that looks, there we go, looks like this. This is where you connect it to your ceiling, to your bracket, to your strut, whatever it is that it's suspending off of. And you can twist off. There's a metal cap on the top that twists off. Let's see, you can kind of see through it right there. That's what it looks like. And there's a hole through it. So what you do is you zip screw in from the bottom into the concrete or metal or whatever you're screwing it into. And then you screw your aircraft cable back into the bracket. So now you have a nice suspension system in place in the building. And then the other advantage, of course, is being able to adjust this. In case the ceiling isn't quite level, you can level and plumb it out by adjusting the aircraft cable on the other end down by the LBI and then clipping off the excess. So it's a really well-engineered, thought-out, simple application for extending what you can do with the LBI. The other parts that I want to remind you of and talk to you a little bit about. Oh, next question that we've had a lot of. So Doug reminded me on the call this morning, this is a plug, an LBI plug with a switch built into it. So you got one that's a 3-foot long plug switch. And then of course the last end goes into the LBI. We sell it 2 ways. We have it as a 3-foot length and as a 7-foot length. Now, we've done some bunch of cubicle farms now with under cabinet lighting with LBI. So with this switch, if for some reason being, this is the LBI plug inside and that's the switch. If being about 18 inches from the LBI did not work for that solar farm, if there's certain type of cubicle they're using or whatever the reason, or they need a switch in a different location, we can custom move that switch further down or away or closer to the LBI to work in your installation. I'm doing a large medical center and they needed it for whatever reason, the way they did the run around through the cubicle, they wanted the switch in a location. So we can move that switch, just allow a little bit of lead time to have it built and then shipped from overseas. So again, with all these cables, as you're doing your design, we have some flexibility to make that work a little bit for you. The other question that, that under cabinet is UL 1598C listed. So we do have a listing on that for under cabinet. The other question that I get a lot of is some people, if you recall the end, the way this looks on the end, there are 2 rows. One is 120 to 277, and the other one is the 0 to 10 volt interface that travels through the bars. Some people have put them into installations. These are damp listed, right? Where they're worried about moisture or dampness rather getting into the end of these, or under cabinet, they may be worried that somebody might hurt themselves. So we've come up with a little plastic, I think it's called end cap in the price list and in the spec sheet. Let's see, it looks like this. A little bit hard to tell on the Zoom here, but it's just a little plastic piece. And what it does is when you plug it into the end, it just seals this off real tight. So there's less worry about any sort of personal contact or moisture or dampness on that end. So that's a new item that's been recently added and rolled out. For Cove lighting, I know we were just talking about this at NEMRA back in whenever it was last. There's a new word that I heard recently called Blur's Day, right? So all the days during COVID blur together, Blur's Day. So anyway, days have turned into months, but I think it was last January where many of us met up in Orlando. And we were just talking about this really cool Cove Bracket. This is now out and available. Remembering, of course, the mounting bracket that comes with the LBI easily snaps in, and then you snap the LBI into it. Again, about 75% of the Cove installations we've done, people have just laid the LBIs flat into the Cove. Now, if you need help with Cove design, Amy McKeon, who works for me on my team here, is a Cove aficionado, a guru of Cove. Every time somebody sends me a request, I send it to her, because you got to remember that you're not dealing with, the LBIs are designed as a retrofit to fit between tombstones when doing the fixture over. So they're not truly 4 feet or truly 3 feet. So you got some measurements to do in your Cove. And then also she can help you with your end runs and power feeds and stuff. But also with the Cove bracket, keep in mind when you mount the LBI into the Cove, you're creating a 90-degree angle or 45-degree angle to shoot the light up and out of the Cove. So you do add some energy efficiency to it. You also can increase the light in the space that you're shooting into by adding the bracket. So whether or not you choose just to lay it in, that's pretty cool, or you can use the bracket. Now, the other thing that I remind everybody is when you flip the bracket over, you can mount it and mount your LBI to it and use it as display lighting as well. And we have some retailers now that have used it that way to direct light down onto merchandise. The other thing that I want to remind you about is the sensor. The sensor is programmable through our remote control. It's daylight harvesting capable. So you use your little handheld remote to create daylighting, which, as you know, if there are skylights in the building or glass in the building, and if you're going up against a competitor and you need occupancy in those types of spaces, you should have a win because you can move the lights, of course, with the amount of sunlight in the space. The sensor is pre-programmed at 100%, drops to 30%, but after you can also set it to go to 30% and then go to off, or you can set it at different intervals in the middle of that. So you got quite a bit of control with the sensor. Some of our best installations utilize the sensor down long runs of product. And when you do that, you need to remember that we have 2 different connector clips. We have a gray colored one and the white colored one. The white colored one, let's see if I can get it in here, is dimmable. And you can see that there are 2 rows of pins, row 1 for 120 to 277, and the other one for 0 to 10 volt. This one, that you can see pins on the top for power, but there are no pins on the bottom. So this is a non-dim connector. It breaks that connection. So if you're doing a run with multiple sensors, you can use one power cable to power the entire run, but you might need multiple of these. So you break your connection because you can't have more than one of these talking to each other. Otherwise they fight, kind of like brothers and sisters on the run. So you put this in the middle and that breaks them off into 2 separate groups. The other question that we've had is some people have used these for retrofit kits in like vanities or even in like hotel closets. And one of the things about our sensors is they're microwave. So they can actually, if you direct them at a wall, they literally, and without conditioning them or setting the intensity, you could actually see through the wall and detect motion on the other side. So if you were in a closet and somebody was just walking by, you wouldn't want the sensor turning on the light. So you can adjust the intensity of this. So we came out and out on our website now, when you go to the LBI section, you'll find there's a document that talks just about the sensor. And we have the sensor, we have 2 versions. You can control the intensity of the microwave or its sensing, but there's also 2 sensors. One that has a very narrow cone. So if you're doing multiple aisleways, like in a library, you can use this narrow cone sensor so it doesn't detect people in the other aisles and it doesn't turn on those lights. That same narrow cone works really well if you're doing closet lighting. You'd have a narrow beam and you would shorten the throw of the beam. So when somebody opens the closet door, then the light comes on, but it might not detect you if you're walking up and down the hall past it. So take a look at that sensor guide. It's really cool. Dan LaJoy, our product manager, did an awesome job designing it and really helps you with the design on that. Of course, you can always write to me or Amy or to one of our regionals to help you with the design as well. A couple of other things wanted to show you. Some new things that we're coming out with next month. This is a very simple little device. It's probably 2.5 inches long. And this is called something for step dim. So what step dim is, in the old days, they used to have classrooms where you had a couple of light switches. And if you flipped on one of the fluorescents in the light fixture came on, and you flipped on switch number 2 and 2 more came on. So then you could set, by flipping the light switches, you could have different light levels. Well, what I'm finding is with a lot of contractors, the contractors don't necessarily want to learn how to program and design control systems, but they want to offer, and they don't want to do a lot of extra purple and gray 0 to 10 volt wiring. But you could do a very simple installation when you add this to your LBI, or you can also add this to our stairwell, to our new troffer transformer, to our drum fixtures, to our retrofit kit light engines. You can do crazy things with this. And basically there's a setting switch here. One setting says 30% and one says 60%. So this is mounted with your LBI. And when the person flips the light switch on once, it goes to the 30% light level, or 60, whichever one you have it. But let's say you flip it to 30%, and that's a nice amount of light to do basic tasks. Now, if they want to operate the fixture at 100%, they go flip, flip twice on the light switch, and it bypasses the 30% and goes right to 100% light level. So that's a bi-level switching without having to, so you can offer your end user light in that office space, low light levels, without having to go back and add a dimmer or add any other type of control at the switching location in the space. So there's some really fun things. If you're designing suspended lighting, let's see if I can zoom this in. This is a picture of a special order 90-degree entry cable to go into the LBI. So instead of coming straight out and then wrapping the cable up, it plugs in and goes directly straight up for doing those suspended. So this is a special order product. We're going to be updating the cut sheet with a few others of these as we get going. We're announcing a lot of new products right now, but that's a good thing to know about or remember about if you get some feedback. And then at NEMRA, we also were talking about doing hello there. So anyways, so we ended up talking about doing a way that we could do suspended and do like zigzag shapes or do squares. Well, this product, because as Doug said, because of COVID, we put on the back burner. But if you had the right product in an engineering environment, we could come up, this is a connector clip that you can rotate and mount in multiple directions to create different patterns with LBI. So we would revise this product to do a special order kind of consideration if you brought that product forward to us. So the other thing I want to show you and discuss, because we've been hitting really good success with retail establishments like a CVS. We did, as Doug mentioned, it's going to be about $1.5 million project at one drug store situation, but we've also done Price Choppers and a few other grocery store chains with these. People are liking these because if you think we're replacing a 2-lamp T8 situation, when they're big 6-inch wide fixtures with lamps hanging off of them, we're replacing it with something 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches. And when you do a really good design in those spaces, we use Tushar here to help us do the design. We're actually able to do fixture reduction. So if you don't have a lot of incentive money in your region, we can save money, one, by going to LED, but also two, by doing fixture reduction with smart design in those spaces. And to help us out with that, I'm looking for my other clips here. Here we go. So we came up, and some of us already knew about this, a ceiling grid clip, which clips and runs right along the grid of the ceiling, which is really great until you have to mount it over an aisleway, right, for a grocery store. And the grids of the ceiling don't line up with the aisleway, right? So what we needed to do is come up with another version of this same T-grid clip. We call it a 90-degree T-grid clip. And that's also out there on the price list and also in the design guide for LBI. And now you can go across, rather than just running along the grid itself, you can go cross panel from T-bar holder to T-bar holder straight across the panel. And that way you can put these anywhere inside the space. So we have been moving the product along, and the value of this whole product is you understanding how to accessorize it to make it work inside the environment. We've also done cooler cases, a lot of them now, replacing F60 T12s using 2 foots and 3 foots together in those environments. And then, so the combination of being able to do the cooler cases, being able to do a display mount, being able to do a correct grid lighting from the ceiling side down, you can use this throughout the entire installation. And we've had some very successful installations where people have taken the same one bar and used it across the whole facility.